Today I'm going to take advantage of this sunny weather and get out here and spread a little bit of nitrogen on the pasture. They're calling for rain in a couple of days, and that'll be just about perfect to get this nitrogen spread on there, then get a little shower on it and wash that into the ground, get it to soak in. I'd like to have done that a few weeks ago, but they were just calling for so much rain, I was afraid it'd all just get washed away. And this is the next opportunity I've had to get some on here. So let's get some nitrogen on the ground. I'm gonna drag out my old 3-point hitch spreader, put it on the back of the tractor, and get that thing going. And in a week or so, well, might have more grass than we can deal with. Y'all be happy about that, won't you? Oh, and if you hear a bunch of noise going on in the background, that's roofers putting on a new roof. I said a little while back that we had some hail damage with a lot of storms and things here, so it's time for a new roof. This spreader is actually meant to go on a 4-wheeler. I did a little redesign, fixed up a 3-point hitch bracket to go on it, and I can use it on my tractor. It's on my project list to get this changed around so I can use it on the side-by-side, which would be ideal. Then I could carry more stuff with me as I'm spreading. Since this spreader was designed for a 4-wheeler, it uses an electric motor for the spreader instead of a PTO. Now I have just put a 6-pin trailer plug on here, and before I have mounted this 6-pin trailer plug in the side of the tractor, and this plugs in and goes to the lights out on my loader. So if I just unplug that, if I can do this one-handed, plug in the spreader, now I can use the switch over here that I use for the loader lights to turn the spreader off and on. And let's see if it works. No, it's not working. Well, after a whole lot of troubleshooting, I think the motor's bad. That thing is a booger to get out of there. Well, that went easier than I thought. A long way to go if it's moving at all. Probably gotta go up 2 inches. I guess it has moved some, but not a lot. Got a new idea. Well, if I can't push the fan off the shaft, maybe I can push the shaft through the fan. Need my short hammer. I'm using a brass piece for a punch. That way I don't spread the end of the shaft out where it won't go through the fan once I get down there. Yep, let the motor out. And the fan. Now I gotta see if I can find a new motor. I don't know, finding a motor for this thing might be a challenge. This thing's pretty old. Hopefully we can find one. Actually, I might be able to take this motor apart. Maybe I can figure out what's wrong with it. Now, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to mark how this thing goes together. You know, my philosophy's always been, if it doesn't work, I can't really hurt it. And I can see right now what's wrong with it. This motor has brushes. You got 4, they're carbon type brushes that rub on this commutator, and that's what gets your power into the motor. And I can see right now that this brush is not touching the commutator. I would say it got wet in there, and that thing is just not sliding like it should. There should be a spring behind it pushing that in there. See what we can do with that. Actually, the brush is moving. That one is wore kind of bad. I want to get that off. Now maybe you can see those 4 brushes a little better. I'm not sure why this brush and this brush are kind of worn at an angle, but that's obviously had some water, got corroded in here. We'll clean that up, clean this commutator up. That definitely needs some work, and see if I can free that bearing up, because it is stuck. I'd like to get that whole thing out of there. The magnets hold it pretty tight. There we go. Those are some pretty strong magnets in there. And now you can see just how dirty and nasty this thing is. This front bearing is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Hopefully I can lube this one up a little bit and get it going. But now that I've got the thing out, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to chuck it in the drill press and let that turn and spin, and I can polish this commutator. all it took. Look how shiny and coppery that is now. I don't know that even took 30 seconds to clean that up. Now, if we can get this bearing working, I think we'll be in good shape. Yeah, ideally, we'd put some new bearings on it. Let's see what we can do with this for now. Getting there. And yes, I know eventually I'll have to get at least new bearings for this. Maybe this can get me through this season. Then I'll go through all this again next time because I didn't get any bearings. Put a little actual oil in there instead of just WD-40. Something pretty thin. Well, it's not perfect, but I think it will work. Now, don't pinch my fingers putting this back together. This thing is pretty hard to turn because the magnets hold it still. It's not the bearings. It's the magnets that are keeping you from turning this. Keeping me from turning it anyway. This is why I put my marks on here. Now I can line back up where I need to be. What I didn't do was mark this side. It needs to turn a little bit. Well, got this little battery here. Give this thing a try. Well, it sounds pretty rough, but it does run. Well, let's see what it's going to take to put this thing back together now. Well, it's the next day, and I have still got a problem with my spreader. I'm not sure what's going on with that thing. I worked on that motor. I got the motor running on the workbench. I put it all back together on the tractor yesterday, and now the motor doesn't work, even though it appears the tractor is supplying the 12 volts. But I'm gonna have to do some more work on that, and we're gonna do some investigating and figure out exactly what's going on and why that motor won't run. So we'll be doing some troubleshooting today. But before then, we've got to get the girls fed. I think they're hungry. It's going to take some troubleshooting on this tractor to get this spreader to work. I've about decided it's something in the tractor. It's not with the spreader. And let me show you why. I know I had this motor running sitting on the workbench with this little battery. So now I can get that in there where it doesn't fall. I've taken the plug apart here, and let's see if I can get these clamps on here, at least to touch. So from this plug to the motor, it will run with this battery. So I'm going to put this plug back together. Then we're going to see if I can check this cord that I've got coming from the tractor. Maybe I'm losing my power in there somewhere. Although if I put a meter in here to read this, I am reading 12 volts. But maybe I've got a bad connection somewhere and it just can't carry the current that I need to run that motor. That's the only thing I can think of right now. Let me get this put back together and then we'll pick it up when I check the cord. Okay, now this is the other end of this cable that plugs in here. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. And now I'm going to try the same thing if I can get not too short here. If I can get these clamps on here somehow. Need some probes to clamp in here, don't I? Alright, I've got a couple of screws. I'm just going to clamp in here. Use those for probes. That tells me all of my cabling and everything is good. The problem is definitely in the tractor somewhere. Well, I've got it figured out and I have got to show you what the problem was. Anytime you got an electrical problem, one of the first things you want to do is check your fuses, make sure everything's okay, make sure you got voltage. Well, kind of in the process of doing this, first thing I checked was voltage, and I had plenty. I had 12 volts. It was no problem. But when I hooked it up to the motor wouldn't run. And it's like I lost my 12 volts when I hooked it up. Well, get the camera right here. Here is my fuse. Watch what happens when I turn this on. If you can see that, when I turn the switch on, there is actually a little LED indicator on this fuse that indicates that this fuse is blown, which would be really handy when you're looking for a blown fuse. The problem with that is that LED leaks through enough voltage to tell the meter that you've got 12 volts. But you're not going to have any current flow through there. So the meter says you've got voltage, but you don't have any current. That is something I'm going to have to keep in mind. Always check the fuses first, even if you have voltage. It's the first fuse I've seen like that. And I'll take that fuse out, put another fuse in. This one does not have the LED, by the way. You can probably hear the fan run. So all this troubleshooting, all this taking connectors apart, checking voltage, double checking connections, and all of that. Getting that other battery fixed up so I could get things to work was all a problem of this little fuse with a LED indicator on it. Always check the simple stuff.